Hi guys. I've been saying for ages now that I would talk a bit about my daily spiritual practice, so I'm finally getting around to it. One of the reasons that I kind of haven't got around to talking about it again is that it keeps changing. I did make a video quite a while ago, which as usual I will link below if I remember, about daily practice, but I was more talking about finding the motivation to do ritual and to keep a kind of a regular schedule and stuff like that. And I did talk a little bit at the time about what my daily spiritual practice was at that time, but it has changed quite a lot since then, and it's ever evolving. So there are a couple of different components to my daily practice. Sorry, I keep saying spiritual practice. A couple of different components to my daily practice, and there are a couple of different times at which I go about it. So up until recently, I think I started out with a morning practice. And then after that I kind of introduced an evening practice because I think that was my, I wanted to have some actual, formal meditation. And then since then I've shoved in kind of afternoon, evening, early evening, late afternoon kind of practice as well. So I'll talk through all the different components of it. It is at the moment maybe a little bit unwieldy and hasn't quite settled. I feel like I'm possibly trying to do too much, but at the same time it's become very important for me, my daily practice, maybe more so than the rituals that I do, but I'll talk about that again in a little bit. So first of all, maybe the biggest component of my daily practice at the moment is formal meditation. And this is something that I've really only reintroduced in a serious way in the last couple of weeks, maybe the last couple of months. I have had a fairly regular meditation practice for about a year and a half or so, when I bought a book that I recommended in a previous video. Can't even remember off the top of my head what that video is, but I'll link the book and the video below. Did I do a video on meditation? I can't remember. I've definitely blogged about it. Maybe I'll link that below as well. I'm always linking millions of things below, but anyway. So before I read this book basically about a year and a half ago because I felt like a regular meditation practice would help my ritual. I felt as though I wasn't really getting into a ritual state of mind very easily, that I was getting easily distracted, that I wasn't focusing enough, and I thought that a meditation practice would help. And also because I would get to the core of a ritual and kind of not know what to do. And I used to sort of meditate, but I felt as though I wasn't really sure what I was supposed to be doing, even though I had actually read books about meditation before. And yeah, I decided that I needed to sort of step up my meditation practice basically, mostly for ritual purposes. So since then I have probably meditated nearly every day on some level, but most of that practice has been quite bitty and hasn't been like a pure what I would consider to be a very kind of pure form of meditation, which is focusing on the breath. I was doing a lot of sort of visualization and mantra and stuff like that, rather than the sort of focusing on the breath kind of meditation. And I think in a way that was easier for me, but in a way it distracted me from really getting good at meditation, from allowing the meditation practice itself to be a spiritual practice in and of itself. Because I'm, one of those people who, if I'm doing something that isn't busy enough, I feel like it's a waste of time. I feel like meditation has to be about a million things at once for me. So it's quite difficult for me to allow myself to just do a meditation on the breath. But that's something that I'm definitely doing now. So my formal meditation practice consists of 20 to 30 minute meditation, generally either after work when I come home in the evening, or at some point during the afternoon on the days when I'm not going to work. I don't work very productively from about 2:30 till about 4:30. I just have this slump thing. So I will often shove my meditation in there because I find it's actually a really good time for me to meditate, that I will go into the meditative state more easily because I'm already in a sort of I'm not in that kind of alpha wavelength kind of focused. You do want to be focused in meditation, but you know what I mean, and my mind isn't sort of as monkey chattery as it usually is at that time of day. So what actually happened, the way I ended up inserting that chunk of meditation into the middle of the day. I had initially started doing meditation when I started my meditation practice. I had initially been doing it at that time of day after I came home from work. But the reason I actually stuck it in there is because I tried taking a nap at that time for a while. I was trying to see how that would feel, and I gave up on that because I felt like I was doing it too late in the day. It just didn't really work out for me. But instead I ended up doing meditation instead at that time, and I'm really liking that. So once I started reading about meditation again and getting into it, I kind of decided I wanted to do more than one formal meditation a day. I wanted to do maybe two. It's often suggested to do 2 20-minute sessions a day, which before I had restarted my meditation practice would have seemed like an awful lot, but now I'm kind of thinking, no, I do want to do that, but I mix it up a bit. So the second thing I will talk about is sacred silence. So sacred silence is effectively a form of meditation for me, and it is kind of the primary form of meditation that I had been done before I returned to focusing on the breath. This is what I had been doing in the evenings, and I made a video talking about sacred silence a bit. This is what I had been doing as my sort of evening part of my daily practice. I would light candles, sit in the dark and be silent and listen to silence, and I'll kind of offer up my silence. And I still really like doing that, but my problem with having that being my main meditation of the day was that very often I will just not find time for meditation late in the evening. If I'm in my boyfriend's house, it just won't happen. If I'm in my parents' house, it might, probably won't. And also sometimes I will just be really tired and either not feel like doing it, or if I do start meditating, I just fall asleep. So I've decided now to kind of stick with that sacred silence, but my evening, if I'm doing it in the evening, it's more of a, if I get a chance to do it, I'll do it, and it's not something that I feel is integral to my daily practice that I definitely do every day. So because my act of sacred silence isn't really happening at the end of the day anymore, I've actually just started shoving it into the beginning and replacing my morning daily practice. This is all very confusing. I'm sorry about that, guys. I might write a blog post about this to sort of lay it out a bit more clearly for you, but I will talk at the very end, talk you through just exactly what it is I'm doing at the moment every day. So what I'm doing now is actually inserting my sacred silence into my morning daily practice. I started using prayer beads in the morning maybe 6 months ago or so, a while ago anyway, and I made a video about the prayer beads that I made for the Morrigan. My morning devotionals was an attempt at improving my relationship with the Morrigan, and while I found it really moving for me at first, it sort of waned and I started to feel that it wasn't potent anymore, so I don't feel bad dropping that particular habit. What I was doing was I had the Morrigan prayer beads. I figured this would be a lot easier if I was actually showing them to you. So I have my Morrigan prayer beads that I made myself. So what I was doing was I was actually going through these, and I had a certain opening kind of statement of devotion that I would speak. Then I would draw a tarot card, and I would use that tarot card to sort of develop an intention or a mantra for the day. So I would draw, say, I don't know, the 5 of Cups, and I would come up with some sort of very short mantra or statement about, you know, not submitting to disappointment, or not crying over spilled milk. Generally it wouldn't be a negative statement though, I would go for a positive one. So I am grateful for my blessings, or something like that. And just something simple like that. So I would go through, on these beads, I have one large skull at the top, and then I have, these might probably not focus because it's focused on my face, but maybe I should hold it further back. Then I have 7 black beads, small black beads. Then I have a small skull, and then there are 3 large garnet beads, another skull, and then it goes on 7 and 3. So I'll go through the 7 beads, and each time with a breath breath in, breath out, move on to the next bead, and I would sort of pace my mantra or my intention with my breathing internally. I wouldn't speak it out loud, I'd be thinking it. And then when I get to the 3 beads, I had a little short kind of prayer that I would say to the Morrigan. Again, breath in, breath out with each bead. And that really kind of got me going with a daily practice. That was what I did. That was the only thing I did really for a while. And it definitely helped strengthen my relationship with the Morrigan for a while, but for some reason it went stale and I couldn't tell you why. And I felt actually that it wasn't really developing my relationship with her at all. And at the moment I'm feeling that my relationship with her is at a bit of a stalemate or something. I feel as though perhaps I don't need her right now, or yeah, I couldn't exactly explain to you why she hasn't been as present in my life, but she hasn't for a few weeks or even a few months. And I just felt that that particular practice wasn't necessary right now. So yeah, so then I started just, initially I just kind of got a bit fed up with drawing the tarot card every day. That for some reason wasn't working for me anymore. Just coming up with my mantra on the fly, and I don't know, it just wasn't working for me. I had done it enough. I had gone through probably the bulk of the deck at that point. I was drawing the cards randomly, but even with some of the cards being drawn multiple times, I had still gone through the bulk of the deck. So what I started doing was going through all the beads and just saying my prayer to the Morrigan, which I enjoyed for a few weeks. But at the moment now, I've actually stopped using the beads to say a mantra at all. And what I've been doing is I'm just using them to keep me on track with my breathing and to keep me on track with silence. So I've been using these in the morning still, and in the evening if I do the same devotional practice again in the evening. But what I actually do is I go through every single bead, and I stop at the skulls as well, which is something I used to do. Go through every single bead, and it kind of makes the practice of sacred silence, I find it keeps me on track more. It stops me from wandering in my mind, because it's very easy when you're not actually focusing on anything except for silence. It is actually quite easy to wander, I find, especially when I'm not that practiced in meditation and my mind still does wander quite a lot. I find that focusing on the beads and having 1 bead per breath, it almost makes each moment of silence, each bead kind of creates a moment of silence that I am offering up, I think is what I'm trying to say. And generally speaking, I am kind of offering this up to the Morrigan, but at the moment for me, she is the Morrigan as a face of the all. Well, she always has been sort of a face of the all for me, a way of seeing the all. But she has become less personal for me at the moment. And I've been very much more tuning into the divine in much more general terms and overarching kind of terms. So the Morrigan is almost more of a name that I am giving the divine all or cosmos at the moment. So yeah, I find that going through these beads and just an inhale and an exhale at every bead, and with every inhale, silence, and with every exhale, silence, and that is my kind of offering to Goddess, I suppose, more than to Goddess, to the Morrigan, to whatever face or form or name that I feel like giving the divine at that time. So that is what I've been doing in the morning. I really enjoy doing that in the evening, because it's dark, and lighting candles in the dark for me I think this works for a lot of people, and I think so many of us who are interested, who have come at spirituality through witchcraft or paganism or the occult or whatever way we have ended up getting wherever we are now, whether we're witches now or not. I think we all just love the sort of, there's just something really magical about lighting candles in the dark, isn't there? There's just something really potent about it. And I rarely feel more reverent than I do sitting at my altar with the candles lit at night. But like I said, I just have found that realistically it won't happen every day, and I do like to have a practice. My morning practice will happen. Essentially, I can be sure that my morning practice will happen. I won't always have the beads, but I am going to make myself a few more sets, so hopefully I will always have a set of beads with me, so that my morning practice can become more routine. And I'm thinking of extending it. For the moment, I go through these twice, which is roughly 10 minutes, maybe slightly more. But I'm going to start going through them probably 4 times. For a 20-minute meditation. And yeah, one thing I am thinking of changing those is rather than just having a sacred silence practice in the morning, that I might use the mantra I am, because that's a really moving one for me, but I might just mix that up and do whatever I feel like doing on the day. So I think I'm pretty much through all the main things that I wanted to talk about. And what I'm finally going to talk about just is my evening practice. So, as you may have gathered from this very rambly explanation, my current daily practice consists of getting up in the morning and doing some form of meditation for 10 minutes, usually with my prayer beads, and usually it's a form of sacred silence. But if I don't have my prayer beads, I will just do some other form of meditation, usually on the breath. Then at some point in the late afternoon, I will do a kind of formal meditation practice of 20 or 30 minutes of focusing on the breath. Sometimes I will use the I am mantra, and sometimes I will count the breath. Just depends on what I feel. You know the way, if you have a meditation practice yourself, you'll know what I mean when I say that sometimes you're just in the mood for a particular type of meditation, and even though they're very subtly different, sometimes focusing on the breath is just hopeless, and my mind will wander, and I just need to have a mantra or something to be focusing on. And sometimes the mantra or the counting just gets in the way. So yeah, it just depends on how I feel. But basically my evening practice, I have very recently decided that I'm going to not try to have a specific practice that I do every day in the evenings. But number one, because it doesn't happen every day. But number two, because I would like to give myself the space to be a bit more spontaneous when it comes to doing ritual. I have until now been sort of trying to get a ritual in on every full moon, every dark moon, and then of course all the Sabbats. Now I'm definitely going to be continuing with all the Sabbats because they're very important to me, but I've been starting to feel for a while now that doing a ritual just because it's a full moon or a dark moon doesn't really work for me. I'm not necessarily going to be in the right place because it's not something that I think about daily. The Wheel of the Year is something that I do follow. It's infrequent enough that no matter what on the day I will generally feel like doing ritual. It will be meaningful to me, but sometimes it's just a full moon or a dark moon, it's just not the right time. And there are probably other times when I might actually be in the mood to do a ritual and I just don't, because I think it seems like a lot of effort, or it's not a full moon or a dark moon, or whatever. So I think what I'm going to start doing is whenever I do have an evening to myself during the week or whatever, I will work at having more spontaneous ritual, because the kind of rituals that I've been developing, my ritual structure that I've developed over time, and my way of getting into a ritual mindset, and the different faces of the divine and aspects of reality that I acknowledge during ritual. I've built all that up, and I think that's going to stand to me hugely when it comes to formal rituals like Sabbats and stuff like that. But I'm kind of starting to feel like I really need to dedicate myself to doing a more spontaneous kind of spiritual practice, and to allowing myself to explore more in sacred space. Allowing myself to set up sacred space simply by lighting a candle in silence, and then doing whatever it is I feel the need to do. Because in my last video about my experience in Kerry, I was talking about this need I have that I've been ignoring and suppressing for quite a long time now, to paint. Sorry about that, I ran out of battery. I'm going to wrap it up there though. I might make another video soon about the importance of a daily practice and what it can offer you, how it can help you, why it's important. that kind of thing. How it can maybe help you get in touch with your heart story, and how it can help you figure things out for yourself, how it can help you strengthen your spirituality, maybe how you can fit it into a busy life, that kind of thing. I might make another video on that. But for the moment, I hope that was helpful. I hope that might have given you some ideas for how you might develop a daily spiritual practice. And yeah, if you have any questions about anything I've talked about, feel free to comment below. I might talk a bit more about meditation and stuff like that, and I might make more detailed videos about all my various different components to my daily practice, but I'll leave it there for now, and take care guys, bye.